What's up? I want to talk a little bit today about what's going on for the class of 2020, the high school class of 2020, and the fact that, everything has been messed up for them because of no fault of their own, but because of forces beyond their control. They've lost the second half of their senior year in high school. They've lost prom. They've lost graduation in many cases. They've lost goodbyes to teachers and peers and coaches, and colleges, the businesses that they are basically, still asking many of them to deposit by May 1st, if not by June 1st, as if, oh, we're just experiencing a little blip that maybe causes a few week delay, as if that's enough. The fact of the matter is 30 million plus people, probably upwards of 40 million at least, will have lost their job in the United States uh, in the next few weeks by as a result of the pandemic closures, not the pandemic, but the closures that have been instigated by governors as a result of their reaction to the pandemic. And a lot of people have lost their lives as well, which is horrible and tragic. Uh, and so, how does this relate to seniors in high school right now? Well, this is what I'm going to tell you, and it's going to be pretty shocking if you're coming to a college counselor for advice. Typically, you wouldn't hear this, but as a college counselor who has always looked out for the students and the parents, unlike a lot of people in the admissions world, I would call it an industry, but many people will call it sort of the admissions field or the admissions profession or the guidance profession or the college counseling profession. I would call it an industry. And I would also venture to state that most working in this field have mixed loyalties, and it doesn't mean they're bad people. It just means that when you work for a high school, you care as much about what the high school leadership thinks of you as you do what the students and the parents think of you, because you're employed by the high school's leadership or the school's leadership. When you work for a college admissions office, you work for a college and you care about what the college thinks of you as much, if not much more, than what the students and parents think of you. But I have always thought first and foremost about what is in the best interests of the students and the parents. And that's why when I've worked in colleges and when I've worked in high schools, I have sometimes rubbed people the wrong way in terms of my employers, because I always fight to the mat for the students and for the parents. So the families that are going through the college admissions process are my first priority, much more so than the high school that I work at, much more so than the college that I work at. And that's why I've never worked at a high school or college more than several years, because ultimately students and parents come first for me. And that's why I've had a career as a college admissions consultant for the past 15 plus years. Long story short, I want to tell you this directly, students and parents. What am I building to? If you are in the class of 2020, I think that it is a very bad idea to go to college in fall 2020. Very bad idea. And what do I mean by this? A, many of these colleges are going to try to give you, for the full freight cost of tuition, an online product that is inferior. And they're also in huge financial duress right now, these colleges. So that combination is skating on thin ice from the perspective of the student and the family, and therefore me, because you do not want to get wrapped into starting your first year at college that you're likely or may not be able to finish or even experience the full residential experience at, or the full in-person experience at, because college is much more than just the courses you take. It's the relationships you build both inside and outside the classroom, the life skills you develop as an independent young adult into young adulthood. All of that is being stripped away from you if you go to college fall 2020. This is true if you go to no-name university in the middle of nowhere, and it's true if you go to Harvard or Yale. If you have to go online, I'd say just delay it a year. Do something entrepreneurial. Start a business online. Start a business in your community. Relax. Do a gap year. Do something. I always joked about, Malia Obama, or Sasha Obama, one of those Obamas, doing the gap year, because there was no need to do a gap year for a student from such privilege they didn't need to do that, but they did it. And so in that situation, a gap year, in my opinion, is sort of a joke. But a gap year in this situation is not a joke. Families are losing their incomes, some are losing their lives, and colleges are out to make a big buck on you, to give you a Zoom education potentially for a semester, a year, or more. Why not just delay it? See if the college you've gotten accepted into will defer you for a year. This is true, again, if you've gotten into a no-name public or private school, all the way up to a prestigious public or private school. You know, the big names that you've heard of, the Yales, the Harvards, the Princetons, the Michigans, the Berkeleys, etc. See if they'll defer you. If they won't defer you, then the only students, this is such a small percentage of the college going students who are attempting to start a 4-year degree in the fall of 2020, the only students that I would recommend start their 4-year college degree, their undergraduate degree in fall of 2020 in the United States would be the students who have gotten into a top 50, top 60 research university on the U.S. News and World Report college rankings list, and they've been told they cannot defer for whatever reason. They won't allow you to defer. You have to take it now, or you may lose that spot, and therefore you would have to apply again. And if you feel like it would be hard for you to apply again to either that school or get into a school like that again next year, based off of your trajectory, your etc., I would maybe consider going this fall, to a Yale or Harvard if you feel like you got in on a wing and a prayer this year, but you feel like you won't get in now that you're basically leaving them at the altar this fall and they won't let you defer. But in most cases, these schools will let you defer. So try to defer. If you've not gotten into a school that's very well known or wasn't very prestigious, or maybe you weren't that excited about, this is a no-brainer. Don't go. Don't go to the liberal arts school that was already struggling to survive this fall, have a bastardized freshman year experience, and then that school go out of business in the next 15 to 18 months because of COVID or coronavirus or the plague, whatever you're calling it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Again, I think in all cases, it's very foolhardy to actually go to college in fall 2020. And this is a college counselor speaking. I've been a college counselor in one capacity or another for 15 plus years. There's no good reason to go to college in fall 2020 online for an inferior product, unless you were already enrolling in a college that was fully online and you were at peace with that, like an Arizona State fully online degree program, or a University of Maryland Global Campus fully online degree program that you already were excited to go fully online, and the price point is such where it was palatable to you and made sense. But if you are going to get into a bait and switch situation where after you've deposited a few weeks or a couple months later, they could say, you know what, let's just try it online in the fall like we did in the spring. We learned a lot. It's pretty good. Run. Don't walk in the other direction. And if you have to lose your deposit, then lose your deposit and apply again in the future. But college is such an experience, both inside and outside the classroom, that if your family was willing and able to go for that full-fledged experience before this pandemic hit, and now it's being taken away from you, like prom, like graduation, like your final semester or quarter of senior year or trimester of senior year, again, run to the exits. Do not go to college. College is not the end all be all. College, God willing, will be there next year if you are well, if you are healthy. If it may be the perspective you will have on life after living on your own independently or in your home, it is not having college or not having an education experience dominating your life for a year or two or a semester or two. Maybe you'll have a new insight on whether or not college is even for you. And college shouldn't be for everyone. There are a lot of other fields and avenues to pursue in life than just college-related ones. So this is coming from someone. I did go to an Ivy League school. I do recognize the value of a quality education. However, many colleges will be going out of business in the next 2 years to 3 years. Many more now as a result of the pandemic, but many were going to go out of business anyway. And many will transition to online learning full time, and their price points will change dramatically over the next couple years. Do not go to college for full freight pay, especially in the fall 2020. If it was all going to be free, maybe I'd go. Maybe if I was on a full scholarship or full aid, maybe in that scenario I would go. But even then, if you can defer and have that full aid carry over to starting fall 2021, do that instead. Let's see how this thing pans out. because already governors, mayors, others, college administrators, California State University today, they're all inclined to really not do this semester, at least this fall semester, in person, if not longer. And if there's an outbreak locally or in regionally, you might as well forget it. A lot of these colleges don't want to take on the liability, and they're going to try to charge you for a full-fledged college experience by having you sit in your parents' home and Zoom 2.5 hours a day. Run, don't walk away from that value proposition. Do something better with your life for at least a year, maybe longer, because college is not the end all be all, despite what the Ivies on down want you to believe. Good luck, stay safe, stay well. That's the most important thing.